Hi, I'm Tom Hintz, owner of NewWoodworker.com. My site gets visited by several million people a year, so it's not unreasonable to expect that I get a lot of email. The good news about all that email is that of the hundreds that I get every week, way over 99% of them are from reasonable people with legitimate questions or comments. But there is that 1% that really bothers me sometimes, and that's what this video is about. Let's start with the ones that don't quite give me enough information. One guy writes, "How big is the blade on my table saw?" That was it. I told him that it's probably 10 inches in diameter and about an 1/8 inch thick. He replied, "How do you know?" Another guy says, "How do I adjust my saw?" I asked him, "Adjust what?" He replied in all caps, "My table saw," and gave up. One guy asked, "How do I raise my table saw blade to cut normal sized wood?" I said, "The normal amount." "How many degrees in a picture frame?" I answered him, "Technically 360 degrees, but let's start with the shape." Another fellow wrote, "What kind of wood do I like working for my projects?" That's his words. I'm reading all these as they came. I asked what kind of projects he wanted to make, and he answered, "I don't have to tell you." Sometimes they give me a little too much information. One guy wrote, "My wife came in my shop for my birthday, but now I have rust on the table saw where her butt was. Can that be removed?" I told him how to remove the rust and hoped that that's what he was talking about. One guy wrote, "Why don't they make it harder for me to use my table saw when I'm drunk?" I gave him the "don't use tools while drinking" spiel, and he responded with a bunch of words that I can't say here. One fellow found a saw and had some questions. He said, "I found a table saw by the side of the road 2 years ago and tried it today, but when I plug it in, it makes smokes. How stop that?" I told him that if he didn't want to spend a bunch of money to stop plugging it in and put it back out by the road. Another fellow wrote, "Why doesn't my 10-inch table saw cut 10 inches deep?" I explained about the arbor and stuff needed to turn the blade, which reduces the usable portion of the blade above the table to a bit over 3.25 inches or so. Then he said, "Where can I get a bigger blade so it cuts 10 inches of wood?" I replied that that's not possible because of all the other stuff surrounding the blade. He replied, "That's a stupid answer." Oddly enough, that's pretty much what I was thinking too. Another one said, "Why doesn't my bandsaw cut wood as big as a bigger bandsaw?" I replied that it's a size thing. The overall size of the machine limits the thickness of the wood it can cut. He answered me, "That's a stupid answer." Another fellow said, "After reading a review on your website, I went to the manufacturer's website," we won't give their name, "and signed up for their email. Now they won't stop sending me email, and I demand that you take me off of that list." I answered telling him that I have no control over someone else's email list, and he needs to handle it with them. He responded in all caps, and that's never a good sign, "I demand that you take my name off their email list or I will send this to my lawyer." I replied that I thought my lawyer would like this action way more than his lawyer did. Never heard from him again, or his lawyer. A fellow wrote, "My wife bought a computer with a camera in it. Can you see us?" I replied, "Not yet." Another fellow said, "What good is a dial indicator if I don't understand it?" I replied, "Good point." "Why do none of the lower price machines work as good as the expensive ones?" I answered, "Because they're not made as well." He replied, "You're full of and work for a big rip-off company." I replied, "No, I do not work for a big rip-off company." Another fellow wrote, "I bought a lathe that looks just like my friend's jet except for the color. Why is that?" I replied to him and said I wasn't sure what his question was, and he answered, "I thought so!" Big exclamation point. So I answered, "Me too." I haven't heard from him again either. And stay tuned because I get an email too. It's pretty much in the bag because I doubt these emails are going to stop anytime soon.